4 hours after I buried my son, I was still sitting in my dark, silent living room, hands shaking, suit wrinkled, the smell of roses from the funeral still in my clothes. That's when my phone rang. Unknown number, local school district. I almost didn't answer. But when I did, a trembling voice said, "Mr. Rowan, your son left something in his classroom. You need to come tonight." I told her I couldn't, not today, not after what I'd just done. But then she whispered, "Sir, someone is already here waiting for you. They said it's urgent, and they said you won't want anyone else to see this." My heart dropped into my stomach, because there was only one person my son ever hid anything from me for, and seeing them again, in that empty classroom, destroyed me. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and tell us where you're listening from in the comments. My name is Peter Rowan. I'm 66 years old, and yesterday I did something no parent should ever have to do. I buried my child. My son Adam was only 31, a good man, a quiet man, a troubled man I loved with every fiber in my body. But what I discovered 4 hours after laying him to rest showed me there was an entire part of his life I never knew existed. And the person waiting for me in that classroom held the one truth I wasn't prepared to face. The funeral chapel was a blur of faces, soft voices, tissues, black suits moving like waves. I remember smelling lilies, a lot of lilies. I remember shaking hands I barely knew, hearing condolences that felt like echoes. I remember the weight of the casket lid in my hands, and the finality of the shovel hitting the earth. Then home, the house too quiet, a chair that used to hold his laugh empty. I tried to breathe around the silence. Tried to fit the day into small boxes, the eulogy, the names, the hymns. And then the phone rang, unknown number, a local exchange, a school. My thumb hovered. For a while I didn't answer. Like if I didn't pick up, the world might stay still. But the voice on the line was trembling. "Mr. Rowan," she said. "It's Mrs. Alvarez, Adam's third-grade teacher, Mrs. Leela Alvarez. He left something at school, a box. He told me to keep it. We thought you should come." I started to refuse. Not today, I wanted to tell her. Not after the burial. Not while the suit still clung to my bones, but she kept talking. "There's someone here waiting, Mr. Rowan," she added. "Someone left a note with the box. She said you should be the first to see it." My heart knocked against my ribs like a frightened bird. "Who is it?" I asked, voice small. "Just someone whom Adam trusted," Mrs. Alvarez said. "Please, come tonight. It's important." There was an urgency in her voice I couldn't ignore. I told Rebecca, the funeral planner, my daughter, my anchor, that I had to go. Her face crumpled, then steeled. "Dad," she said, "you need to know everything Adam left." We drove in silence, the city washed by in streaks of headlamps and neon. My hands were cold on the wheel. I thought of the casket again, of the mud on my boots, of the finality of seeing him lowered into the ground. I walked into the school like a man stepping onto a stage. The halls smelled like crayons and disinfectant. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead. The classroom door was open. A classroom at night looks different. Desks like small islands. Posters about multiplication in the months of the year. Mrs. Alvarez stood near the window, her hair pinned up, her cardigan buttoned. She looked older than I expected. Kind, small, tired. She had Adam's face in the way she held her chin, like someone who'd watched boys grow into men. "And you came," she said softly, relief folding her features. I swallowed. "Who's waiting?" I asked again. She motioned to the corner. A small figure sat on the floor against the bookcase. A child, a little girl, maybe 9, 10 at most. She had a sweater knitted in bright colors. Her knees were tucked up under her chin. She held a paper cup with both hands like a treasure. When she saw me, she didn't stand. She watched me like someone learning a new word. Mrs. Alvarez took a step forward. "Peter," she said, using my name the way one might use a lifeline. "This is Mara. She's well, she and Adam were close. She asked me to wait with her." Mara looked at me with eyes that were startlingly familiar, brown and unguarded, like windows into a room I had never visited. "And she left you something?" I asked. Mara's small voice unfurled. "She said you would know what to do," she said. "Dad," she stopped, then tried again. "Adam said you would be the one to see it." My chest tightened. I took one step closer, and then she spoke words that hit me like a fist. "Are you my grandpa?" she asked. The question landed and stayed. I'd been so certain what else I might hear tonight. A confession, a secret about his work, an apology written in a shaky hand, not this. Grandpa, I echoed stupidly, like trying on a coat that does not fit. She nodded, small, solemn. Yes, she whispered. He says you should know. Time folded in on itself. My mouth tasted of pennies. My legs felt hollow. Where's the note? I asked, because it felt like an armor. Mrs. Alvarez retrieved a small shoebox from her desk. It was taped, careful tape. Adam's name in a blocky, familiar scrawl for Peter. My hands shook as I pulled the lid. Inside was a letter, on top folded small, a Polaroid, a worn baseball hat, and a tiny pair of child's mittens. The photograph was of Adam smiling wide, arm around a small figure, Mara. They were both at a summer fair. Eat on your face smiles. It was a picture you keep in your wallet. I stared at the picture until it blurred. The letter, my hands fumbled the fold. I recognized Adam's handwriting instantly. Slanted, hurried, letters pressed like someone writing in fits between days. I read aloud because my voice needed to break the silence. Dad, if you're reading this, I'm sorry I didn't tell you. If I could have, I would have. She's mine. She's my daughter. I know this will hurt you. I know it will confuse you. I didn't plan it this way. I didn't want to hide, but I couldn't ask for your forgiveness like this. My voice faltered. My hands went numb. Rebecca's breath hitched. I forced myself to continue. Please meet her. Please be gentle. I trust you to do the right thing. The room spun. Mara watched me with the solemn patience of children who know adults are clumsy with truth. I looked at Rebecca. Her lips were thin, white. Oh God, she said, barely a whisper. You should sit, Mrs. Alvarez said. I sank to a desk like a man pulled down by an invisible rope. My mind raced through photographs and dinners that never included another small voice. Through medical bills and late nights and the times I thought we'd lost him to his own demons but pulled him back. A daughter. My son had a daughter. A warm, steady ache filled my chest, not joy, not exactly. Something like regret braided with relief. But deeper than any of that, deeper, was a jagged shard of betrayal. Why hadn't he told me? Why had he kept this from me? Why, in the last years of his life, when we needed one another most, did he carry this like a secret map tucked deep inside his shirt? I looked at Mara again. She folded her hands neatly and pushed the paper cup toward me. On the cup, in a child's careful scrawl, 3 words were written in blue marker. For Grandpa. My throat closed. And then, as if the world wanted to double the blow, I found the Polaroid again. On the back, 2 words, written small in Adam's hand. Forgive me. The classroom hummed with the small sounds of night, an air vent, the distant whistle of a train. But in that quiet, one fact towered above everything else. Adam had chosen to build a life I never knew existed. And someone, this girl, had come tonight because he trusted me enough to leave her with my son's teacher. I should have felt anger first, rage at secrets, betrayal at the lies. Instead, I felt unmoored. What did you do when a new truth arrived and rearranged the map of your life? Mara watched me as if waiting for me to decide. She had arrived 4 hours after the funeral. She had a box, a photo, and a question, and I had nothing, not yet, only a small voice in my chest whispering that the next thing I did would change everything. I opened the letter again, and then Mara said one more thing. Dad told me not to tell you until you were ready, she said softly. My name caught in my throat. How did he know I'd be ready? I asked. Mara shrugged like a wise, tiny oracle. Because he said you always fixed things, she whispered. The word fixed landed on me like a verdict. I stared at the photograph until the edges sharpened. Then I stood up. My legs felt like old rope. Outside, the night pressed close. Inside, the classroom held 3 people, me, my daughter, and the child I had never known. I stepped toward Mara. She looked up at me and smiled. It was a smile that belonged to my son. And that was the moment I realized I didn't just have to bury a son today. I had to decide what to do with the life he left behind. And the box in my hand still had one seal unbroken. I had to open it, but before I could, the classroom door opened wider. A shadow filled the doorway, and a voice from the hall said, quietly but clearly, Peter Rowan, there's someone else here to see you. I turned. The night outside the door seemed suddenly bigger and more dangerous than the small circle of light in which I stood. The doorframe looked too large for the man standing in it. Tall, thin, a face I didn't recognize, but his eyes, those eyes, they locked onto Mara with a mixture of longing and fear. Mrs. Alvarez stiffened immediately. You can't be in here, she said sharply. We talked about this. Rebecca moved instinctively closer to me, shielding me without even thinking. Mara's small voice lifted from the carpet. Dad, every bone in my body turned to ice. Dad, not Adam, this man. A man I'd never seen in my life. The stranger swallowed hard and stepped forward, hands trembling at his sides. Mara, he whispered, you weren't supposed to come alone. Mrs. Alvarez raised her palm like a stop sign. You agreed, she said firmly. You weren't going to approach her until Mr. Rowan saw the letter. I looked down at the box again. Adam's handwriting, a confession, a secret daughter. But now a new truth dropped in front of me like a stone. There was a second adult involved. Someone who had appeared the same night I buried my son. Someone who knew exactly where to find us. I forced myself to stand. Who are you? I asked, my voice low. The man didn't look at me at first. He looked at Mara just for a beat too long, and the pain in his face was unmistakable. Then he finally answered. My name is Caleb Hartman, he said quietly. And I'm the one who took care of Mara after Adam died. My knees nearly buckled. Took care? I asked. Why would you need to? Where is her mother? Caleb ran a shaky hand through his hair. There is no mother, he whispered. Not anymore. My heart thudded. Rebecca steadied my arm. The room felt suddenly too small. Caleb took a slow breath, then looked directly at me for the first time. Mr. Rowan, he said softly, Adam and I weren't just friends. The words hit me like a physical blow. My grip on the desk tightened. Rebecca inhaled sharply. He was my partner, Caleb continued, for 3 years. The world tilted. Partner, not colleague, not friend, partner. My son had a life, an entire life he never told me about. Caleb's voice cracked. We weren't ready to tell anyone, he whispered. Not yet. He didn't want you to find out like this. I sank slowly into the nearest chair as if gravity had doubled. Memories rifled through my mind. Adam avoiding long conversations. Adam changing the subject when I asked about relationships. Adam smiling at texts he never explained. My heart squeezed. How much pain had he carried alone? Caleb stepped forward, hands raised in surrender. I didn't come to cause trouble, he said. I didn't want Mara to go through this without someone she knew. Mara crawled to his side and clutched his sleeve. Dad said you'd keep me safe, she whispered to him. Her words punched the air from my lungs. Adam had trusted this man, trusted him enough to leave his daughter with him. I stared at the box again. The letter, the photo, the mittens. Pieces of a life my son built without me, a life I was never invited into, a life I lost the same day I learned it existed. I lifted my head. Why now? I asked. Why show up tonight on the day of his funeral? Caleb's jaw trembled. Because I promised him, he said. When things got bad, Adam made me promise that if anything ever happened to him, I would bring Mara to you. He looked around the classroom, but I didn't think it would be this soon. My throat burned. What happened? I whispered, why didn't he tell me? Caleb lowered himself onto one of the tiny classroom chairs, elbows on his knees, eyes hollow. Adam was in a rough place financially, he said. He lost his job 6 months ago. He didn't want to disappoint you. He kept saying, Dad already saved me once. I won't make him do it again. Tears stung behind my eyes. Saved him, I whispered. Caleb nodded. He told me how you pulled him out of trouble when he was younger, how you paid debts. How you helped him through things he wasn't proud of. I closed my eyes. Yes, there had been things, dark seasons, addiction, run-ins with the wrong people. I thought we had beaten them, but secrets have a gravity. They bend everything around them. Caleb continued. When Mara's mother passed away, Adam took her in. He wanted to keep her safe, but he struggled, more than he told anyone. Rebecca's hand squeezed my shoulder. Caleb swallowed. 2 months ago, he came to me and said, I can't give her what she needs, but my dad can, and he made me promise if anything ever happened, I would find you. His eyes glistened. I never thought I'd have to keep that promise. Silence filled the room, thick and hard to breathe through. I looked at Mara, this small, brave girl who had lost a mother and now a father, and had been handed to a stranger with nothing but a photograph and a note. A note from a son who didn't trust me enough to tell me the truth when he was alive. Anger flared and died. The only thing left was grief in a shape I'd never seen before. I turned back to Caleb. What was he doing the week he died? I asked. Why did this happen? Caleb hesitated. Then his face darkened. He told me he was meeting someone, he said. Who? I asked. I don't know, he whispered. He never told me a name, but he said it was important. He said it was the last piece of making things right. Making what right? Rebecca asked. Caleb shook his head. I'm not sure, but the last night I saw him alive, he said something strange. My pulse quickened. What did he say? Caleb swallowed hard. He said, if anything happens to me, it won't be an accident. My blood ran cold. Rebecca whispered, oh my God, Caleb continued. And then he said, tell my dad he was right about everything. The room seemed to shrink. Right about what? Before I could ask, Mrs. Alvarez gasped, staring at the window. Her hand flew to her mouth. Oh no, she whispered. They found us. Rebecca spun around. Caleb stood up sharply. Mara clung to his hand. I followed their gaze and saw a dark figure standing just outside the classroom window, face obscured by shadows, watching us. Not moving, not blinking, just watching. Caleb whispered one word, run. For a few seconds, nobody moved. The figure outside the window didn't shift, didn't tilt its head, didn't even flinch. Just stood there, staring in at us through the thin glare of fluorescent light. A cold ripple crawled up my spine. Mara's tiny fingers tightened around Caleb's sleeve. Dad, she whispered, her voice cracking. Caleb moved fast, faster than I expected from someone who had been shaking moments ago. He pulled Mara behind him, stepped between her and the window, his body tense like a shield. Rebecca grabbed my arm, her nails dug deep. Dad, she whispered, we need to go, now. Mrs. Alvarez reached for the light switch, her breath shallow. Maybe it's just someone outside, she never finished, because the figure outside lifted its hand and placed it flat against the glass. A slow, deliberate, silent gesture, the kind people make when they already know your name. My heart pounded in my throat. Caleb whispered almost too softly to hear. Peter, that's the same person Adam said he was meeting. My blood turned to ice. I stared at him. What are you talking about? Caleb swallowed hard. 2 nights before Adam died, someone came to our apartment. A man, tall, didn't speak, just stood outside the window. My stomach twisted. You saw him, Caleb nodded. Adam said not to call the police. He said it was almost over, like he owed the man something. A chill shot through me so violently I nearly stumbled. We didn't have time to panic. The figure outside stepped to the right and disappeared from view. Door, Caleb said sharply. He's coming to the door. I didn't think. None of us did. We moved. Mrs. Alvarez flipped the lights off. The classroom sank into a pale blue darkness. Rebecca grabbed the letter and box. I grabbed Mara's backpack. Caleb grabbed my wrist. Stay behind me, he whispered. Whatever you do. The hallway outside creaked. Slow footsteps, measured, too calm, not the footsteps of someone searching, the footsteps of someone closing in. Rebecca mouthed, back door. She pointed toward the rear exit near the supply closet. We moved across the small classroom in total silence. Each breath felt like it echoed. Each footstep felt like it vibrated the floor. Mara clung to my side now, small fingers gripping my jacket sleeve. I didn't know this child an hour ago, not truly. But in that moment, I felt the same instinct I felt when Adam was little, that primal need to protect the fragile thing that trusts you. We reached the back door. Caleb pressed his ear against it. Nothing. He slowly pushed the bar. A soft click. Cool air drifted in. He peeked through the crack and then his entire body seized. He's out there, he whispered. At the far end of the playground. Mrs. Alvarez choked on a gasp. How did he move that fast? She whispered. Caleb pushed the door shut just as slow and carefully as he had opened it. We were trapped, front door, back door, both compromised. A hollow dread opened inside me. What does he want? Rebecca whispered. Caleb took a long, shaking breath. Whatever Adam owed him, my voice cracked. Owed him what? Caleb's expression went dark. Adam was desperate. He borrowed money after losing his job. I tried to help, but he was proud, too proud. I felt a spear of guilt pierce my ribs. If he had just told me, if he had just reached out, my son died carrying burdens he didn't have to die with. Caleb continued. He borrowed from the wrong man, someone who doesn't let debt go, someone who told Adam there were consequences for not paying. Rebecca's breath hitched. You think he killed Adam? Caleb's eyes glistened. I don't know, but I know that after Adam died, that man didn't stop coming. I stared at him. What do you mean? Caleb closed his eyes. He came to the apartment 4 days after the funeral. He knocked. He stood in the hall for almost 10 minutes. Rebecca's hand flew to her mouth. My stomach dropped. Did he say anything? Caleb shook his head. He just slid a note under the door. A note, I whispered. He nodded and pulled his wallet from his pocket. Inside was a folded slip of paper. He handed it to me. I opened it slowly. One sentence, written in block letters. The father pays what the son couldn't, the world tilted. My vision blurred. My son died owing this man, and now he wanted me. A heavy fist pounded on the classroom door. All of us whipped around. Another pound, harder, deliberate. Rebecca clutched my arm so tightly I felt her shaking through her bones. Mrs. Alvarez whispered, "Dear God." The pounding stopped. Silence stretched. Then a voice seeped under the door, low, calm, chilling. "Peter Rowan, I know you're in there." My knees nearly gave out. He knew my name. He knew where we were. He knew why we were here. The voice came again, closer this time. "Open the door, you've got something of mine." Caleb pulled Mara behind a table. I stood frozen. The man outside dragged something metal across the door, a slow, scraping threat. "Last chance, Peter," Rebecca whispered. "What does he think we have?" Caleb swallowed. "He must think Adam left the money, that you know where it is." I whispered back, "I don't know anything." Another scrape. Another pound. The hinges rattled. "He'll break it," Caleb whispered. "He'll break the door down." My breath left me. My son died trying to shield this child, trying to shield Caleb, trying to shield me. And now the danger he carried alone was standing on the other side of a thin wooden door. Mara whispered in a tiny, trembling voice, "Grandpa, are we going to die?" The words shattered something inside me. No, not again. Not another child lost to silence. I straightened. A lifetime of fear, grief, guilt, all burned into something harder, something fierce. I stepped forward. Caleb grabbed my arm. "Peter, no, he'll kill you." I looked him dead in the eyes. He already killed my son. Another blow struck the door, splintering the top panel. Rebecca screamed. Mara cried into her hands, and I stepped toward the door, ready to face the man who destroyed my son's last months alive, ready to end the silence he fed on, ready to do what Adam trusted me to do, fix this. My hand closed around the door handle. The next second decided everything. But before I could pull it open, a voice behind me yelled, "Don't move, police." Red and blue lights splashed across the hallway, and the classroom door exploded inward. The police burst in like thunder. Lights, shouts, leather, a dozen boots filled the hallway. "Down now," a voice barked. Caleb shoved Mara behind him. Rebecca yanked me down before I could think. The man at the door, tall, slow, confident, froze mid-swing. He raised his hands. "Don't move," an officer repeated. Flashlights danced across his face. Recognition hit me like a physical thing. The man's jaw was scarred. His eyes were cold in a way I'd seen only in photographs behind glass. The officer cuffed him quickly. "You're under arrest for trespassing and intimidation," he said. The man laughed short, bitter. "You have no idea who you're messing with." Two detectives stepped forward. One looked at Caleb and Rebecca. "Is everyone all right?" she asked. Mara whimpered and clutched my sleeve. I felt the room tilt. Then Detective Morales, thin, efficient, held up a small evidence bag. Inside was a scrap of paper, folded, damp. On it were blocky letters like the one Caleb had given me. "The father pays what the son." She turned to the man. "Where did you get this?" she demanded. He glared. He spat the name like a curse. "Parker," he said. "I work for Parker." That name landed in everyone's ears like a bell. Parker, local muscle, collections, a man who turned debts into threats. Detective Morales looked at us with old, weary eyes. "We've had complaints about Parker. We're taking statements. For now, he's off the street." They led him away. As the officers moved through the room, one of them knelt and picked up the scrap of paper Caleb had shown me earlier. "Sir," he said to me quietly, "we'll need to take your statement. And Mr. Hartman, can we get yours too?" Caleb nodded. His face was pale. I found my voice by remembering Adam's handwriting in that box, the words "forgive me." I told them everything I knew. Caleb spoke about the loan, the threats, the visitations. Rebecca showed them bank statements she'd already pulled from the car. One of the officers, young, careful, went to the window and scanned the playground. He returned with something in his hand, a small, battered key. He held it up with gloved fingers. "Found this near the fence," he said. "Looks like a safe deposit key." My breath stopped. Caleb's hands trembled as he reached for it. "That's from Adam," he whispered. "He used to hide things in a box at the credit union." Detective Morales lifted an eyebrow. "We'll check the records, but first medical." They ushered us into the corridor. Caleb held Mara close. Rebecca steadied my arm. A paramedic checked our vitals. Klein stayed with us, ache in his eyes. Then the detective left with Parker in cuffs. We waited 10 minutes, an hour. Time braided itself thin. When they came back, their faces had changed, hardened, tired, resolute. We found Parker's phone, Detective Morales said. It has messages to Adam from last month, threats, payment dates. He's connected to at least 2 unsolved assaults. We can't yet say he killed Adam, she paused, but we can seize records and detain him for questioning. My chest loosened a notch, not closure, but movement. Then she said the thing that made my legs go weak. We also checked the credit union box. There was an envelope with instructions. Caleb swallowed. She left something there, he said. They brought the envelope into the room. It was yellowed at the edges, folded with care. Adam's handwriting on the outside, for Dad if anything happens. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside, a small ledger, account numbers, a copy of a trust document, the name of a lawyer, and a flash drive taped to the inside flap. My throat closed. Rebecca slid the ledger toward me. It's an escrow, she said. He set up a small trust for Mara. He funneled savings into it. He left instructions naming you as custodian if anything happened. He also left a list, people to contact: Caleb, the lawyer, and Dad, forgive me. I pressed my thumb to the page until the ink blurred. Then I peeled the tape from the flash drive. Klein took it gently and slid it into his laptop. A file opened. A video. Adam's face, pale, tired, fierce, filled the screen. His voice was raw. Dad, he said, if you're watching this, I'm gone. I didn't tell you because I thought I could fix it alone. I thought I could keep Mara from the worst. I was scared. I'm sorry. Please be her grandfather. Protect her. Find Caleb. He'll explain. I love you. He paused, swallowed. And Dad, don't hate me. I wanted to tell you. I chose not to because I wanted to spare you the worry. I was wrong. Forgive me. If I couldn't be the man I wanted, please be the one she needs. The video ended. Rebecca covered her mouth. Mara looked up, eyes huge and innocent. Something inside me shifted. Anger, yes. Hurt, yes. But also a steady, fierce love. Adam had trusted me enough to leave this. Even in secret, he'd built a future for his daughter. Detective Morales cleared her throat. We'll continue the investigation, she said. We'll see whether Parker can be tied to Adam's death. We'll pursue the threats, and we'll ensure the trust is enforced. Caleb stepped forward. He promised me he would tell you, he said, voice small. He wanted you in it. He wanted you to know. I looked at the two of them, Caleb and Mara, closer than any name on a paper. I thought of the funeral, the box, the Polaroid, the words, forgive me. And I thought of my son, flawed, proud, loving in the ways he'd chosen. I folded the ledger into my hands. Then I did the thing I had half feared and half known I would do. I stood. I took Mara in my arms. She smelled like crayons and laundry detergent, like the classroom she'd left. Her small fingers curled around my collar. I felt impossibly that I could hold this, that I could stitch a new map for a life taken from us. I looked at Rebecca. Let's go home, I said. Tonight, all of us. She nodded, tears shining. Detective Morales patted my shoulder. We'll be in touch, she said. As they led Parker away, he spat one last curse. You won't get him, he shouted. But the words were small in the corridor. Outside, the night air was sharp. I walked out into it holding a small girl who was also my grandson's daughter. I had been destroyed once tonight, inside a chapel in the soil when I buried Adam, and I had been remade. Adam's secret hurt, but it also gave me a place to stand. As the patrol car lights washed over us, I whispered into Mara's hair, we'll be okay, I promise. It was a promise I meant to keep.